to the debut episode of Crew to Headsets. This is a new event-centered podcast about all things production. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle Michelson, and for almost, the past 11 years, I've been a teleprompter operator-owner of the company Prompster. We're like a modern, people-focused teleprompter company based in New York City and Colorado, and this is my co-host.
I'm Alex Alcantara. I am one half of Ruby and Citrine LLC. We're located in Cary, North Carolina. We have about 5 designers under us, Crystal and I. You'll meet Crystal eventually at one point. We're a multifaceted design agency specializing in presentation design. Born and raised in New York City and got my start in the event and production space in 2010. Why are we talking about any of this?
Well, we really don't feel like there's enough content about the event industry. Mm-hmm. And we really thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about some topics that I know we're all thinking about and we all want to talk about. And this is kind of the space for us to do that. We want this to be interactive. We really hope that people watch this and they ask us questions, maybe even ask to be on the podcast. That would be a lot of fun for us to have guests on and talk about their specialties or some of the topics that we have coming up for our debut season, our first season.
We're very excited about talking about what's coming up next. We're motivated to bring on new people into the industry. I think it's fabulous. Space to be in, especially as a female. Take ownership of your own life. Definitely build like a little bit of a community.
Yes.
We also want more friends.
Yes.
That could be nerdy about this with us. We have really amazing relationships with the people that we know in the industry, and definitely a lot of friends there. But they're all, in different life stages, and we want more friends.
Well, our first episode is aptly named "That's a Job," because unless you work in the event industry, and even if you do, you might not even know what we do. Like I said, I am a teleprompter operator, own my own company, and I think in my personal life, a lot of people just associate what I do with Anchorman and always ask me if I'm putting extra notes into the teleprompter because, obviously never want to work again, so that's something I would do.
My biggest thing is I do presentation design. I own my own company, like I said, and we nobody knows what that means. Like, they're like, what is presentation design? And I usually have to explain it by saying, do you know what a TED Talk is? I'm the person behind the screen punching through, because I'm also a graphics op, which you'll kind of hear all these terms. But graphics operators are the people behind the screen that are punching, we're supporting the speaker on stage. But we're also, prior to getting on stage, we're the people who are creating those graphics that you're seeing on a TED Talk.
Mm-hmm. So. And then for me, it's pretty much I'm taking scripts, loading them into a computer, which I have teleprompter software, and then sending that along to the talent. Could be executives of a company. And there's different ways that we set these up. I mean, sometimes we have these little screens at the bottom of the stage. We like to call those downstage monitors for you in the industry, DSMs, pretty familiar with that term. And then with graphics, we also send those down there. So usually Alex and I, generally behind the scenes, we tend to sit next to each other and kind of like, we have to work in tandem. Like usually, for me at least, I tend to become pretty chummy with whoever the graphics person is. Yeah. Or we've got these things now, they really like to send the prompter out to these huge projected screens. I don't know if you've noticed this on your gigs. These 80-inch screens that if someone turns their head around, they're like, oh, that's the words up there. Also, those little glass panels, that you see president use or something, or at a gala charity event. You see a lot of those with prompter, but it's a lot. We're setting up a lot of this gear. We're making edits and changes for all the different talents. People like to change their minds on what they're going to say, especially after or even during a rehearsal. Changes galore. So we're constantly changing, updating, different people coming at us at once. Sometimes during a show, people want to change things. So we're just always, we got to be quick on the fly, moving real fast, pace. So always paying attention. That's the prompter life.
As far as presentation design goes, my background is in graphic design, and I kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
I think everybody.
I think we did too. I fell into it as well. Yeah.
I was a baby graphic designer. I started out at a video production company that had a production branch, and they were awesome in a lot of ways. And I learned a ton. When I left 2 years later, I took what I learned and I reached out to my network at that point and kind of just took it from there. But you do need a little bit of a creative background. You do need some creative training, but I do feel, at least for presentation design, that you don't necessarily have to go to school for it. Like you,
not at all.
I know very few people who actually went through the entire design schooling. Like it's definitely something that as long as you're creative, you can get into these jobs.
Do you feel like there's any nepotism involved sometimes? A lot of families doing this, or not so much for what you do?
I've seen it more on the AV side. So like people who run gear or learn how to, the technical pieces of the AV world. That's definitely much more family oriented. I think in this realm, you have to be like a creative person, and if your kid is not creative, then you're kind of not going to be able to help them out in that space. But I think I'm a true believer that anybody can do PowerPoint.
Well,
can anybody do it as well as like a design person that's specific for presentation? Like, there's a bunch of skills that you need to become a successful and well sought after presentation specialist. So
how much do you think is creative? How much is technical? Is the technical easy enough to learn? Do you have to have like a certain tech savviness? I mean, I see you guys, you're always creating like all these special ways of doing things, and there's no, like, if you go on YouTube, you're not going to learn the stuff that you guys are all doing. So it's like, how
you're
much
going to learn
it?
A good portion of it. I'd say technical portion, I would say, is a good like 40% of the job. The rest of it is understanding how to convey the message correctly. A lot of it is content strategy. A lot of it has to do with color theory and typography and layouts. Layouts are a huge thing. So there's a ton of things that you naturally could look at something and say, okay, that looks great.
When clients come to you, are they coming to you with ideas already fully formed? Are you offering templates? Is it varied by client?
It varies by client. So I think both of us work a lot with agencies, right? So a lot of the times they'll give us like a content deck, right? That they kind of started out with, and we just are making things look beautiful and pretty. Then there's other times where even with those same agencies, we're working more towards being content strategists, where we're looking to actually develop something from a Word document. And
that's tough.
That's super tough.
That's hard.
But it's really fun, and it's really interesting at taking somebody's like a brand from this company and conveying a message from a Word document and kind of marrying
bringing
those
that
two.
To life.
So
do you ever find that you sometimes just can't come to the same page with a client? Have you ever had to be like, sorry, like we're just not getting there?
I feel like we have, agencies tend to have really great like support systems for that, especially for meetings. Like they do have like producer, EPs, content coordinators, graphics coordinators. So we do have support in that way. There are times when we're working directly with a client that it is hard because the way that we want to, convey the message, they're not necessarily agreeing, or, you just have a client that's a little bit more tough and wants things to be modern. Like, people want to do modern all over, and yet the concept of what is modern is very different for everybody. So it's interesting. It's like a lot of, I feel like it's a lot of hand-holding with clients. This is on topic of like what skills translate really well. So like being a multitasker, being on time, leadership for sure. Like people who are type A personalities, I feel like do well in this industry. Just in the sense of like overscheduling and making sure that things are on track. And I run about 8 to 10 different calendars just to make sure that things are on schedule all the time. So that's a huge thing. Another skill that might translate obviously is creative, is like some design chops. If you're doing teleprompting, what skills go into that?
Definitely interpersonal, because you're not only dealing with, or you're talking and engaging with the talent, but you also have to do that with production. Being tech savvy, understanding the software, computer, how ins and outs work, being able to troubleshoot, that's key, because sometimes you plug things in, they don't work, and you have to be able to try to figure that out.
Right.
Being calm under pressure is very, very important, because you're going to get a lot of people who can't do that, and you have to be the one at the end of the day that's the source of calm, so that when people come to you, you're not in, a panic mode. Also, I mean, you really don't. It's funny, people are like, oh, you must be an amazing speller. I'm personally really not. Autocorrect is magical. And I do tell people, I'm like, look, if it's wrong, I'll fix it in like 2 seconds. It has the red line underneath. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I can write. I have a writing background, but you don't want to interject your own personal writing skills into someone else's script. So you have to kind of know your position and your level when you're a teleprompter op. Now, if there needs to be some sort of transition, and whoever wrote this might not have the experience, and you feel like you're in a situation where you can give your input, do it, because, hey, why not? And if it helps make everything better and it's that missing piece, or if you have a word that someone can't come up with and you have it in your head, feel free to give your input and let them know that sometimes people want your help. And so if you offer it and you have the answers, then they definitely appreciate it.
That goes back to, like, I will touch on that a little bit, because there's some agencies that hate that. Putting your and it's so interesting. It's like, it's so weird. Like, we're all people. Even the executives that we serve, they're all people. Like, we should be able to jump in and help when possible.
But you gotta sometimes.
We do. Yeah, you have to kind of tiptoe depending on the agency. Yeah. So there are some agencies that are like super freaking lovely to work with, and you know who you are. And there's other agencies that you are kind of there to do a very technical job.
Yeah,
and
they
you don't have a voice.
Yeah, they don't want that creative input.
So on off days when we're not on site, we're always working.
Yes.
We kind of said earlier that we're workaholics, which is really, really true for both of us. How do you find balance?
I do have some lulls sometimes in my schedule, at least. So I just try to find things that I like to do. I like to go for walks. I like to read. I try to travel for leisure, because I really enjoy traveling, just outside of work, experiencing different cultures. And a lot of my friends don't live where I live, so I go and visit them, like I am now. Yeah. So I do try to take time to engage with the things that I really enjoy doing. What about yourself?
Like creating a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like
this
doing creative stuff, because honestly, my job, yes, the actual work itself is very technical. Like, I don't get a lot of creative outlet. So I like to take on other projects. I'm like redesigning my website. I like to do marketing stuff. I'm trying to do more of this type of thing. Like, I'm not a great public speaker. So I'm like, I got to push myself out of my comfort zone. So, because if I want to grow my business and expand and offer more opportunities to more people to work for me, I got to do stuff like this, So, but anyways, what about yourself?
Well, I am married. Mark's awesome. He is a wonderful father, and he really takes a lot of initiative. Yeah. And definitely I would say a primary parent. I know when we go on site, people always are like, don't you have a kid? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Where is he? Like, you left him by himself? I'm like, no, there's another parent. They've heard that from multiple people that I trust and admire. Yeah. And they just say that, and they're like, oh, I could never leave my kid at home. I'm like, sucks to be you, because I do. Yeah. If I need the time, I get it. I just do it. I think Mark and I are both really super supportive of each other in a lot of ways, and when I need time to myself, I just take it. So it's it's very it doesn't have to be black or white anymore. Like, it's not just on me to take care of my kid. But I also love reading. I love writing. I'm a creative writer. And I mean, I'm never going to publish anything, but I really, really love writing. I love drawing, painting. I have lots of animals. If you don't know me personally, I have a farm in my house. I have 4 dogs, 3 cats, 6 chickens, and 2 ducks.
It's like a whole thing going on over there. Should we talk about some numbers? Do we have the numbers?
Yeah.
Let's maybe go into that.
So we did a quick Google search.
So we're going to have a little car around. Numbers.
Yeah. So presentation specialist by ages. We're not surprised when I say that 60% of them are over 40. The next would be 30 to 40-year-olds. 30%.
30%. All right.
Where are you, though? I want to know.
I'd like to know, too.
And then 20 to you. Yep. And 20 to 30 is 9%.
Okay. All right. honestly, I don't know. Have you
that
met
scares me
really,
a little bit because it feels like it's just like getting less and less.
Met any young?
Other than the ones that we're training.
I know prompter ops that are younger than me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know ops that are now in their 20s and early 30s.
I don't know any presentation specialists.
I really don't. Honestly,
30.
I can't. No, I mean, it is a job that you can probably do into your mid-60s.
Yeah.
So
it's like a perfect job, actually, to like never retire in.
A lot of these folks have probably been in this industry since the early 90s or mid-90s. Mm-hmm. And they sort of stick with the same folks. And they're kind of getting most of the jobs. So unless people start their own event companies, it's really hard to kind of get, newer folks in the mix.
Who's responsible to keep the industry fresh with new people? Like, do we I know from my perspective, I always feel like a little bit of responsibility that people took a chance on me. Mm-hmm. And in this industry, it's definitely a little bit of like who you know.
Sure.
And networking. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to have really good network mm-hmm. when I left my first job. But yeah, if you don't know anybody, you're kind of like, it's hard for you to find a way, especially for the live, I would say, particularly for the live event part of this. Mm-hmm. A presentation specialist, like, you're going to be able to find a job. Yeah. If you know PowerPoint and you can navigate that, you can find a job fairly quickly in the field as like a full-timer.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're going freelance, that's a completely different situation, and it's live event specific. It's definitely who you know.
I think it's the responsibility of all of us in our role to try to be more inclusive of folks who are younger, might not have as much experience. I mean, I know I definitely try to get people who are my age younger more into doing events mm-hmm. and bringing them into the fold.
And mentoring them.
And mentoring, and just trying to offer them up that experience that might help them if they want to continue on and do events. And then that's the responsibility of all of us in this industry to try to make an effort to be a mentor.
I say this to everybody who works with us at Ruby and Citrine, like, if you're with us and you want to learn something new, like, this is the perfect environment for you to learn new skills. And even if they choose to stay with us, I mean, I hope they do, and we really love everyone we've hired and worked with. But we're kidding ourselves, right? Like, you want to give people the skills to proceed in life and get those better paying jobs, get their foot in the door. If they like it, stay, make a name for themselves. But if they simply learn presentations, I mean, it's a pretty good industry. Yeah. And it's great money. So, like, why not, try to recruit more people into that?
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I hope that other folks who work in our industry also take it upon themselves to try to make just a little bit more of an effort to get that 9%, 10%, a little bit higher. Yeah. I think it'll just be helpful because, a lot of the younger kids, like, they might have different ways of doing things, but it cause a little bit of innovation, might bring some new ideas into the fold and different ways to do things. So it could be beneficial.
So, like, some of the other metrics that I found online was, so do you guys know how many meetings there are in the U.S.?
No.
Well, it's like 1.8 million meetings a year in the U.S.
Okay,
alone.
That has to be counting really small ones, because I cannot imagine there's 1.8 million. I feel like it's a small industry. Well, I meet the same people all the time.
Well, let's say that there is like roughly 1 million meetings a year.
Okay.
I mean, the industry is pretty vast. Yeah. But it's also very niche, what we do. Yeah. And so it's strange to me that people are so protective of, like, their work, and we'll get into that another time.
Yeah, we would certainly.
But I find that super interesting, how many meetings there are. Another really cool fact is that our industry helps U.S. spending by $280 billion.
We're bringing it home.
Yeah. So obviously we'll go into a topic for COVID and, like, how that affected our industry, because that's a huge hit.
That's a big one. Yeah.
But yeah, like, meetings are a huge space, like live events, production. Yeah. It's a huge industry that is like just, sort of hidden. So, Michelle, since we travel so much, what are your favorite places that you've been to?
Well, I've been lucky to do a little bit of international travel. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten to go. I think my favorite location was probably Tokyo. Yeah, I was there for, I think, 3 weeks.
What were you doing there?
I was there for the Olympics, actually.
14-year-old Alex still wants to go to Tokyo.
It was incredible. Highly recommend. As far as like traveling within the States, though, I love going to California personally. So anytime I get the opportunity to go to either LA or San Francisco, I enjoy it quite a bit. Anywhere where it's warm, I'm a happy camper. Especially when it's winter and I can get out of Colorado and go even to like, I don't know, Nevada in the winter sometimes. Yeah. It's a treat for me. But how about yourself? What's like a good one for you?
Most memorable will probably be our Costa Rican trip.
Oh God, yeah.
So
we
went
great,
to
actually.
we went to Costa Rica together and with Mark as well, my husband. It was really fun, and it was right on the coattails of a job. We went for an awards season.
Yes.
Awards,
which was eventful now that I think back on it.
It was on an awards show. So what happened there? And it's like a really funny. Like they didn't want the agency. Sorry, not the agency. The client didn't want to splurge on a generator.
Oh God!
So like the whole
lost power, like
hotel
during
lost the entire power for the a couple hours before the actual show.
Yeah,
it went fine.
It did actually. I think it went fine.
But it was a really funny.
We did get to go to an animal sanctuary and saw like waterfalls. I mean, that stuck out to me the most.
Yeah. Waterfalls were really awesome.
We met sloths.
Yes.
Which I really enjoyed.
Yes. Hawks. We had a whole bunch of hawks. That bird, remember the toucan?
Yes, I have photo of that.
Like, we'll put up photos. Yeah. It was really cute.
And then, I have pictures of me, like, with the waterfalls. It was cool. It was a fun time.
And we went to the hot spring.
We did. Yeah.
It was really, really
It was cool. It was a cool place. You've done a lot of Europe lately, too.
Madrid.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Madrid was fab.
Yeah.
But I would say Milan was my favorite.
I've always wanted to go.
Yeah.
I love
guys who went with me, like, you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It was really amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that was a really great trip. Food-wise, like,
I bet.
The crew was really fun.
Yeah.
It's really great when you have, like, a really great fruit family.
Yes.
So, I think that's pretty much it. That's all we got.
Yeah.
But we will put up a poll to see who's listening.
Tell us, we'll also do like an open thing. Like, tell us what you like, what you don't like. If you think we're like meandering on, or there's certain topics that you prefer that we talk about, or you want to be on the podcast and you have an idea and you want to share it with us. I mean, we can figure out how to do this. Yeah,
I would say this is definitely like still workshopping. Like we're still
figuring this
brainstorming.
out.
Like this is a really interesting topic to us, but obviously we're not experts. We're experts in what we do, but we're not experts on podcasts.
Yes, so you want to help with that too. But I mean, in all the different things, like, the TDs and the audio and the video, like, if you guys want to come on and talk shop or whatever you want to do, or, get into it with us, by all means, we'd love it.
Thanks.
So that's it. We're signing off.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Have some graphics and blah, blah, blah. Okay.